It seems like whenever my creative burnout is at an all-time high and I wonder if I've finally run out of ideas, another trailer comes out that gives me 55 new things to say. Thank God for the weird Sony Venomverse for always getting me out of a slump by being so... itself. Shit, I was so frustrated trying to write an X-Men Legends review that I almost quit YouTube the same morning Morbius the Living Vampire graced us with his clownish presence. Remember that cut alternate ending for Blade? See that Morbius in a mask? Well, turns out he was Jared Leto, who would have thought, and he's actually Jason Todd! Morbius the Living Vampire is a vile, vampiric villain and sometimes anti-hero that's known for occasionally battling six-armed Spider-Man. You may recognize him from the most skippable episodes of Spider-Man the Animated Series, and that one time he found a pile of Punisher's limbs and sewed them back together to make a Frankencastle. He just recently got a teaser for his new solo movie that caught everyone off guard by being an MCU movie. And with that, I want to discuss why Morbius is going to complicate things for the Marvel Cinematic Universe going forward. But first, let's discuss the content of the trailer itself. This feels like an unreleased movie from the mid-2000s. It has the same color palette, and some parts of it even remind me of Daredevil. Given how every Marvel movie lately has been so tied to the Infinity Saga and the Avengers, I'm happy to see something that isn't really concerned with any of that and just wants to tell a disconnected story with a different tone. It's refreshing and worrying at the same time. Much like every movie Sony is working on. The film stars actual creepy vampire Jared Leto in the title role of Michael Morbius, a sad scientist man with a rare blood disease who wants to cure himself with some fringe science methods that involve probably splicing himself with bat DNA. Unlike all other vampires in the Marvel Universe, Morbius the Living Vampire is special in that he's not magic or anything. His powers come entirely from science, which is why he wants so much plasma. We see lots of scenes of him doing all the hallmarks of a classic 2000 superhero movie. Suddenly getting shredded abs with your powers, a scene of him testing them out in a big empty lab, staring at a tunnel full of swarming bats rising, and him killing dozens of armed soldiers in black outfits. And I guess doing some Nightcrawler stuff? For a teaser trailer, this sure showed a lot more than the other one they had for Venom. Remember that? They didn't have any of the CGI done, so they just showed empty shots without it, and everyone started speculating Venom would be in like one scene. I appreciate that this one feels a little less rushed and undercooked, but it bothers me that so much of the imagery feels like scenes lifted from other more successful movies. Then again, that could always be chalked up to Sony just wanting to cut their trailers together with the most recognizable and marketable elements, which brings us to the part of the movie that may start complicating things. I could make a Batman and Joker bit right now, but like, I only see Batman in the scene talking to Jared Leto in white makeup. Joaquin Phoenix is over here getting nominated for an Oscar in every damn category, so Jared Leto fires back with his new sad rebound date that completely fails to make his ex jealous. And also Spider-Man movie references, yay! It's abundantly clear what Sony had to gain from losing their shit and holding Spider-Man for ransom earlier this year while Tom had to play hostage negotiator between the two giant greedy corporations who were equally at fault. They bullied their way into being able to make unlicensed fan fiction and then say it's canon. Canon is a very highly emphasized part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and they take great pains to meticulously plan out every little detail so the timeline and connective bits always make sense. But now we got Sony over here just shoving random movies in places and muddying up the whole thing. Does Venom take place at some point during the 5 years after Thanos made everyone disappear? Is it before? When did that happen? What's going on? Frankly, I don't really care anymore, as long as the movies are good. Continuity errors can be irritating, but if the story and characters are good enough, you can look past it. And even if this turns out to be complete crap, I'm glad it happened because we got to see what happened to the Vulture because he's my favorite of the MCU Spidey villains. Spider-Man Homecoming set up so many future plans with him and Scorpion, and then like they completely forgot about them. I keep seeing all these proposals for the villain for Spider-Man Homewrecker 3, and none of them are a winged Mr. Mom. I bet if Sony hadn't pulled that stunt, he'd end up like Justin Hammer or Fake Mandarin, exiled to the land of 5-minute short films or references in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. From this scene, we can tell he's breaking out of jail given the uniform, and he has some kind of prior relationship with Morbius the Living Plasma Vampire.
I hunger for plasma. plasma.
Given Sony's track record, I wouldn't be surprised if this was the final scene in the movie or the post-credits scene. They do that all the time with their ads. Since this guy in Far From Home is probably the Chameleon, we now have enough dudes to be the Sinister Six-Pack. I know Sony's been betting on that horse forever, in like a really sad, shameful way where the horse has been put down for trampling a picnic full of orphans, but they're so desperate to pay off these gambling debts they've deluded themselves into believing the horse will come back with Tobey Maguire riding it to victory. Within the bowels of the MCU grows a strange parasitic twin, feeding on its life force to sustain itself while only further complicating its continuity. Which is ironic considering this sub-universe consists of
Parasite
and a blood-sucking vampire. I feel like this secondary MCU will be mostly comprised of offshoots and spin-offs from Tom Spidey's mainline adventures. I wouldn't be shocked to see if Mysterio came back in one of these at some point. But that begs the question that has everyone so stumped. Is this crossover only one way? Can Morbius the Plasma Man and Venom affect the events of Marvel movies with Captain Marvel or Black Panther or Doctor Strange? My gut wants to say no, but Sony was very adamant that Spider-Man can appear in their stuff and the MCU to bridge both series. And anything those characters say or do to him could absolutely have an effect on his solo movies going forward. I've even heard talk that he's going to appear in Venom 2, and you can't just randomly have Spidey go to San Francisco and fight Carnage without that affecting anything. Maybe he's hiding there while he's on the run from the law, considering he's a fugitive, as implied by this poster here, and that's not the right Spider-Man, boss. Alright, can we talk about the poster? Let's talk about the poster. I don't agree with the theorists speculating this is connecting Morbius to the Raimi Spider-Man universe or saying Tobey Maguire is coming back. It's just lazy work from the set dressers. Oh, we need a poster of Spider-Man. Here's a poster of Spidey. Easy peasy. I've realized the hilarious problem Spider-Man PS4's hyper-realistic graphical style has created. By offering an endless list of possibilities for Spider-Man poses that are good enough to use against something live action, graphic designers and prop departments are now and maybe forever going to just use that instead of getting proper photos of Tom in the suit doing a swinging pose, because it's faster and cheaper. It wouldn't be so glaring and annoying if this same type of thing hadn't happened multiple times in this last year. Like, this magazine cover is pretty cool otherwise, and I dig the reference, but come on! If you're going to insist on using a CGI model for everything, then why not just, like, boot up Maya, grab the model, put it in a handful of swinging poses, and hit render? You don't need to hassle Tom to wear it every time, which they seem opposed to doing even when they're filming. Is that too much work? Yes? Alright, then let's cut some corners. I know a neat trick. So, like, in a free update, they added this to the game, and you don't even need to unlock it. You get it right away. You just pick it in the menu, jump off something tall, pause it, go to the photo mode, and then boom, there you go. At least it's the right goddamn costume now. Thanks to the guy who did that edit, by the way. I've also heard speculation that Sony doesn't have the rights to the costume, which is even more confusing since they have the rights to use the character. Is Tom going to be wearing some kind of Sony-approved non-Stark Tech costume for appearances with these bozos? And then throw on the red and black when he's hanging out with the Avengers? That would be kind of cool, actually. I don't know. Maybe give him an excuse to finally sew together his own proper costume that's not a $1 billion skin-tight Iron Man suit made of nanomachines, son. Or just, like, throw the Last Stand suit on him if you want to be lazy, I don't know. Even this dumb Easter egg in the background raises so many questions. Everything's been jumbled up and confused by this movie and retroactively by Venom. I've seen some people say this is the beginning of the end for the MCU, but to me the MCU ended when Tony Stark snapped his fingers. That whole story was built around him for 10 years, and we saw the finale of everything they were building up to. Now we're in uncharted territory where the direction is unclear, projects are being greenlit left and right, and it seems like the new lineup is totally random. It's in complete chaos. Like I said in my video speculating on Venom, it's nice to have some variety because you always know exactly what you're going to get with the MCU. I appreciate weird random outliers like this, and since Fox can't make them anymore, we gotta take what we can get. I mean, what else is there? You gotta... Bloodshot, I guess. Although, if I'm being totally honest, a part of me doesn't want to see this if only for the sole reason that it stars Jared Leto. Now, he's a fine actor, and I thought he was good in Blade Runner, or that time Batman axe murdered him, but behind the scenes, he's kind of a jackass. and some speculate maybe a little creepy too. Then again, some sinking part of me wonders if every Hollywood actor is actually a drug kingpin or a sexual predator or just an annoying dick. In which case, it's hard to have such high standards because then you can only see like 3 movies a year if you're only going to ones with the cast that are like 100% not awful. I don't know yet, I haven't decided if I'll watch it, but hey, at least we're getting something different at all. Maybe complicating the MCU is exactly what it needs right now. Marvel Studios are having to rely on a lot less popular characters now to carry the franchise since they retired their biggest ones. And they're scrambling to start up new projects in hopes that it'll keep people interested in the hype train a-running. If they just keep making stuff we've already seen in the past 5 years, they run the risk of boring the audience because it's the same thing over and over. Morbius looks like a bizarro mishmash of a million things, and with a little luck that'll make it feel unique by being such a strange combination of other movies. Maybe throwing Morbius and Venom into the mix will create a new subcategory of Marvel films that are darker and more street level, with Spidey being the connecting element that links that universe to the big, bright, and poppy Avengers films. This is what I wanted Spidey to do for the Netflix Marvel shows before those were sliced off and quarantined like a zombified limb. I, for one, welcome the change because, change is good. Even if it's not always for the better, we can learn from that change and improve in the future. Whether Plasma Man over here is a mistake or not, I think it'll be interesting nonetheless, and the state of Marvel movies can definitely use it as a springboard for bigger and better things.